Hi everyone, I'm Zach Reinhardt, and sorry about missing 2 weeks of reviews. I was just really busy one week, and then the next week I was going to do a video, but I was up in Toronto, and coming back I missed my flight and was stuck in the airport for like another 5 hours or so, and it just didn't work out. But I'm back, and today we're going to talk about what I went up to Toronto to see, the Next Music from Tokyo show. If you don't know about Next Music from Tokyo, it is a small tour that happens, I think, twice a year now. It used to be annually, but I think it's now twice a year. Up in Canada, that kind of tours around Montreal, Quebec, Toronto, that kind of half of Canada. And it brings about 6 or so bands. So this time it was 6, and I think it's always around 6 or 7. 6 or so bands from Japan to tour Canada. And it's all run by this guy, Steve Tanaka, who is really doing God's work here. And basically with this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the show was like and the bands, and, give some promotion to that, and let you know that you should probably look into going up there for the next show. But I guess let's talk about some of the bands. The opener for the show was a solo kind of pop, EDM, rap artist who goes by Token Moody. She's a former member of the idol group Kote Camera Girl 2, which will be relevant very shortly. And she basically got up there and performed some EDM backed rap tracks with a bit of a pop core to them as well. She did some singing on some choruses as well. And it was all kind of in the same vein of some of the other kind of dance rap, especially female-led kind of EDM rap that you get out of Japan with bands like Charisma.com, or even debatably like early Tsuyobi Campanella or Wednesday Campanella. I wasn't really blown away or anything, but I thought she had a good stage presence and the songs were catchy enough. Here's a clip from the show. Token Moody has a new album coming out later this year in November. You can pre-order it on amazon.co.jp if you wish. I might review it, I don't know, but I'm going to keep an eye on it for sure. And this transitions nicely into talking about the idol group that was there this year, Kote Camera Girl 2, which is, I guess, the successor group to Kote Camera Girl 2, the idol group that Token Moody was a former member of. This was their live debut, I believe, and they don't have any recordings quite yet, I don't think, as at the show they were just selling Kote Camera Girl 2 albums. They performed songs that were in much the same vein as what Token Moody was doing, kind of EDM-y, dancey, poppy, with a large portion of it being rapped verses. Idol groups in general are not really my thing, as you may know, but I enjoyed the show. They definitely had a lot of energy, and the crowd was very into it, and it made for a good time. Here's a clip from their set. Next up, I want to talk about the math rock presence that was at this show. There were two really great math rock bands called Etho and Jojo, and they were both incredible. Nuito's music is all instrumental and comprised of just incredibly densely written, kind of twisting, turning, mathy jams of some sort. Their guitarist has this massive suite of effects that he uses to get just all sorts of strange sounds out of his guitar. And while the crazy kind of composition stuff is clearly a big part of it, there's also a surprising amount of focus on texture and tone out of the instruments. There was a lot of kind of changing textures, and they would go into some like stints where there wasn't really all that much mathy stuff going on, and they were just creating this kind of noisy textural wall. Their songs are kind of impossible to fully comprehend on a first listen, and believe me, I was trying. Their songs are kind of incomprehensible to... Their songs are kind of impossible to really understand on a first listen, and believe me, I was trying. But they're also just really... Their songs are kind of impossible to comprehend on a first listen, and believe me, I was trying. But what they lose in immediacy there, they make up for in just how much energy and kind of charisma they have on stage. You don't really need to sit there and count out all the 16th notes that they're breaking up in odd ways when you're in a mosh pit and having a great time anyway. Here's a clip from their set. Then, on kind of the other end of the math rock spectrum, we had Jojo, which is a math rock band in a similar vein, in the sense that they have kind of crazy, virtuosic tapping on the guitars and some densely written, kind of maze-like song structures. But Jojo takes it in a much more accessible and just pretty and easy to listen to direction that's still very compelling. Their songs feature a pretty lush soundscape with flute, some very clean, pretty guitar tones, keyboards, and soft female vocals, as well as a very tight rhythm section that keeps these songs grounded. And despite the fact that Jojo has released 2 mini-albums in the past, one of which just came out this year, so maybe I can review that or something. this was their first time ever performing live. They were rehearsing while the other bands were going on to make sure that they were ready to play, and they came up pretty late on the first night of the tour and really killed it. There were some sound issues that first night, but at the second show at Lee's Palace, everything really came together for a really beautiful, great set. Here's a clip from the guitarist's favorite song that they do, Aoi Ie. Jojo, like I mentioned, has 2 mini albums, Amazon.co.jp. Get that shit, you know? And then we're going to talk about my 2 favorite bands of the night, Gozen Sanji to Taikutsu and O Summer Vacation. Gozen Sanji to Taikutsu is a band that I did not know coming in, and wasn't sure what to expect from them. And when they first came on stage, they started playing some pretty poppy indie rock that I wasn't too enthused about. But as the set went on, they turned out to be a real sleeper hit of a band. Their vocalist was really great. She had the strongest voice of any of the bands by far. And what I thought was just going to be some indie rock, indie pop blandness actually turned out to be one of the more eclectic bands of the whole night. They really covered all their bases, with some of their songs being kind of dark and actually kind of mathy, and some of them being pretty upbeat, aggressive, and in your face. They do play some pretty catchy pop tunes, but they also aren't afraid to accompany those with some more out there, more aggressive, louder stuff. And I think their set actually came together really well and was actually really cohesive. And to my surprise, on the first night, they started the first mosh pit of the show. And seeing them live a second time, I got to appreciate their set even more. And while I'm not super crazy about how they sound just on a record, live they really pull things together and put together a really great show. Here's a clip from their set. Gozen Sanji to Taikutsu has an album out that you can find at Tower Records in Japan, if you're out there. I unfortunately could not find it on Amazon.co.jp, but what can you do? And finally, the real reason that I went out there to see this show, we got to talk about O Summer Vacation. If you're a longtime viewer of my reviews, you might know O Summer Vacation from an EP they put out last year on Bandcamp that I covered in an EP wrap-up, and it ended up making pretty high on my top 10 EPs of 2016. I think it was number 2 or number 3. O Summer Vacation makes loud, aggressive, in-your-face, noisy rock and punk music with a little bit of a mathy edge and some actually kind of complex songwriting to it as well. They have high-pitched, yelpy female vocals, really tight drums, and some really monstrous sounding distorted bass guitar tones. It's clear the tone of the bass guitar is really important to the band as he changes it up constantly during the show, and it really is the focal point that the rest of the band kind of orbits around. The first night was a strangely still hype comedy of errors on the part of the sound for Oh Summer Vacation. The band couldn't really hear themselves, and as a result they had to stop and start songs several times, and the singer's mic went out for several minutes at one point. But it was still surprisingly a pretty hype show, and had a really great mosh pit. And the second night when they performed, things went a lot smoother, and you got to actually kind of hear their songs. And there's not really much I can say about Oh Summer Vacation that this clip from their set won't say better. Oh Summer Vacation was great live, and I got to speak with them very briefly, and they signed my shirt, which is nice. Now I have an Oh Summer Vacation shirt that I can't ever wear, except for this review, but it's going to look really nice in my closet. So yeah, definitely look up these bands, check out what they're doing, and of course, follow next music from Tokyo. The Taupe and Baekhyun the Everyday are going to be coming next year. I think he said May was when the next tour was going to be, and I'll see you guys there. Be sure to get on social media and give Steve and his various volunteers that help run the show all the love you can. I certainly will. And I'll see you guys next week for a review. For real this time. I'm going to be here next week. I know what album I'm reviewing, everything. It's all lined up. If I'm not here next week, something's happened to me. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm lazy. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.